and welcome to UCL's Centre for Artificial Intelligence 15-minute Meet Series, exploring all things AI. Today I'm joined by Yihong Chen, who is a PhD student in UCL's AI Centre. Thanks very much for joining us, Yihong.
Yeah, you're welcome.
It's great to talk to you. So starting with the first question, how are you finding the current lockdown period that we find ourselves in?
Currently everything works well for me and I can go out for jogging sometimes. So working remotely seems fine for me. Although I prefer physical meetings than Zoom meetings a lot. So maybe sometime other days we can go back to 90 High Holborn.
And it must be slightly unusual being a student in the current series. There must be challenges that you hadn't necessarily expected, having to work remotely all the time.
Yeah, because the COVID virus came as suddenly, so no one prepared for it, I think.
Very true. So we start the series by asking our guests about their study or academic journey. Maybe you could tell us a bit about your study journey prior to joining UCL.
Before joining UCL, I did my undergraduate and master in Tsinghua University in China. That was a very amazing place where I play around with a lot of mathematics, physics, and like circuits and everything about electronic engineering. And I also made my very first contact with AI at that time. During that period, I did some internships in tech companies, which was also very fascinating for me.
Great, thank you. Sounds like a very interesting mix of academics and industry experience. What motivated you to get into AI research, and why did you choose to continue your studies at UCL?
I remember, like in my master, I was super interested in like deep learning based recommender systems. I play around with all the kinds of algorithms and deep learning models, and I also find it very practical when you really develop some algorithm which performs well. But the issue for me is like I simply can't stop asking why, because once you get the model perform well, you want to know why, and you want to know if there is anything underlying the algorithm or the model. So I just can't stop pursuing the why. So I think maybe it's better to gain some expertise by doing some AI research. Also, from my internships in a tech company, I find myself really interested in this area. And UCL is kind of has a very strong relationship with industry, and it also has the top tier research, which are very cool, and they are very funny. I would like to say so. Yeah.
That's really good to hear.
Another important factor is like I send an email to my current supervisors, and I get very positive feedback. Yeah. I think I was lucky because I got connected with my supervisors at a very early time, I think.
That makes sense. Thank you. And we'd be interested to learn more about your experience to date of studying a PhD in UCL's AI Centre. And maybe you could tell us a bit more about the focus of your PhD and what it is you're studying.
Yeah, I came here at the end of September last year. So is about 9 months up to now. Before the lockdown, yeah, I worked and did my research in 90 Holborn, which is a very I think it's a very, how do I say, like, it's a very interesting place where you have people from different fields, like those on bioimaging and like us in natural language processing and people in reinforcement learning. Like kind of sit in an open office so that you can easily go and talk to them about your research and about our research. And the most interesting thing is like sometimes you see people see people discuss their research on the whiteboards. And if you feel interesting, you can just join their discussion and ask them about questions. It's quite informal and randomly sometimes. So it brings you many surprise, I think. Also, AI Center has a lot of like seminars where cool researchers from like both industry and academia, like give talks on their current project. I think it's like both academia and the industry researchers, not just like research in academia, which make it very different from the seminars I used to attend in my master period.
That's great, Yihong. And what about the PhD you're studying? What's the kind of academic focus of that?
My current research topic is like how to map symbols into a vector in a vector space. So since I'm still in the 4th year, it's kind of exploration in this direction. And I want to know how this mapping procedure and happens and how we can make it more efficient in terms of computation and the learning. It's like, how can we generalize better when we do this mapping?
Thanks, Yihong. And maybe you could tell us a bit about the relationship you have with your supervisors at UCL on your PhD.
Yeah. Before I start my PhD, I have considered the problem of finding a correct supervisor very seriously. And at that time, I consider my main issue is I have too many questions, of course, some random questions or some nonsense questions or some rude questions. So my main issue is like I should find a supervisor who is very tolerant to this uncertainty or ambiguity from my perspective. So I'm very lucky to get connected with Pontus and Sebastian. And during the interview with them, I find they are very honest about what they know and what they don't know. I think this is very important for a researcher. And I think they do care about their students. So like they will spend a lot of time with you discussing about your research and even your problems in life. I think this is super important because in terms of PhD, I think it's the people who surround you that matters more. You are going to choose what kind of people you will work for like 3 or 4 years. So it's very important, like you can work very collaborate very well, and you can discuss honestly.
That's great. Thank you very much. And what's your experience been as an international student studying at UCL? And what have your general experiences been of the UCL community? I appreciate it's been an unusual time with coronavirus, but how have you found the whole time you've been at UCL so far?
Yeah, before the lockdown, I was able to go around the campus and pick up the module or the course I am interested in. And I find it like people in UCL are quite friendly because I often got lost in the campus or finding the right classroom. And I usually follow with them about where the classroom actually is, because it is super hard sometimes for me to find the correct place. Also, I sometimes got lost because of the language difficulty and different cultural background. So I have to ask people to repeat their utterance or sentence again, which kind of the lucky thing is like most people are very patient with me. Yeah, so I go wherever I go lost in the campus or in my research, I get very positive feedback.
And you mentioned about working in the AI Centre. Have you made a lot of new friends and colleagues who are working on similar areas of research in either computer science or the AI field?
Yeah, I'm now doing my PhD in NLP group. Our group is super. Yeah, you know about.
I'm sure Pontus will be really pleased to hear that. So what are the next steps for you in your career journey and your studies?
I plan to, as I have said, I plan to gain an insight into how we can mapping the symbols into vectors more efficiently and give them more generalization capability. I'm going to develop some open source repository for this. It's also it's like there's uncertainty in this direction, and I hope I can develop like some soft skills into handling the projects, which I didn't notice before I do my PhD.
That makes sense. Thank you very much. And what are your longer term ambitions once you've completed your studies? Is that something you've thought about thus far?
In terms of long-term ambition, I'm thinking about a position in academia, yeah, where I can continue to do my research. Yeah. I think if I just can't stop asking why, then a position as a researcher will allow me more time to investigate into problems like I care about and perhaps the society and the community care about.
That's great. No, very, very important, and nothing wrong with asking why. That's one of the most important questions we can ask. We conclude the series, the 15 minutes meets, by asking the same question. So I'd like to put it to you. What future applications of AI most excite you? What are you most excited about the future of AI?
It's hard to answer this because I'm interested in almost all kinds of application which make sense automatically. So in terms of the NLP, I'm interested in conversational agents. So image a personal intelligent assistant or like a conversational recommender systems, yeah, like this, where you can just speak instead of typing something. So you can speak to the agent and say something you want, and the image like the agent will understand you in seconds and get anything you want.
That's great. Well, it was really great to talk to you today, Yihong, and learn a bit more about both your PhD and the studies that you've been undertaking at UCL, and also to learn about your involvement with UCL's AI Centre. So thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us, and hopefully we can catch up with you again on the 15-minute Meet series at some point in the future. Thanks, Yihong.
Thank you.